Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel SS Analysis. First of all, I would like to tell you that if you are watching this video first time, subscribe my channel to see my more upcoming videos on analysis of different commodities and equity indices. And second important thing is to watch this video till its end to understand this story to take your decision. Your one like will motivate me to be regular in working more hard for you. Before analyzing the movements of S&P 500 futures in different time frames, I would like to analyze some latest developments. First of all, I would like to mention here that on Friday, US employment report for March provided a sigh of relief after recent signs of weakness in the labor market, while at the same time it did not send a powerful enough signal to make markets fear a change in the Federal Reserve's current patient approach to monetary policy. On the other hand, US President Mr. Donald Trump said on Friday that the US Federal Reserve should lower interest rates and take other unconventional measures to ease pressure on an economy that he said they slowed down. The US President also suggested that the central bank pursue an unconventional monetary policy called quantitative easing that was used to nurse the economy back after the global financial crisis. The technique used from 2008 to 2014 involved buying trillions of government-sponsored bonds. Now I find that if the Federal Reserve adopts this policy once again, what impact this approach will have over the US equity indices. Perhaps S&P 500 futures have already started to reflect just before the weekly closing, while the upbeat data have had provided some strength on Friday to US indices. I find the opening levels of S&P 500 futures on the first trading session of the upcoming week will give further indications about the impact of this statement from the US President. Now let us analyze the movements of S&P 500 futures in different time frames. So friends, this is a weekly chart of S&P 500 futures where you can see that the S&P 500 futures are currently at a decisive juncture, and before closing, no doubt, let me zoom this portion for you for a more clear view. In a weekly chart, I find that the current position of 20 days exponential moving average, which is above the 20 days moving average, indicates more strength for a short term in S&P 500 futures, but the current position of 50 days exponential moving average, which is below the 50 days moving average, indicates the long term of S&P 500 futures will remain under pressure. Therefore, I find that if the S&P 500 futures move some more upward from the current levels, no doubt that they will face stiff resistance at 2921, and I find if the S&P 500 futures find a little downward opening on the first trading session of the upcoming week, we'll see the S&P 500 futures to remain under pressure during the upcoming week. So here you can see that the S&P 500 futures look ready to move downward due to the current position of S&P 500 futures, where they indicate some more upward move may be there in S&P 500 futures, but at the level of 2926, S&P 500 futures will have to face stiff resistance, and from there we will find a sharp downward move due to the current position of 50 days exponential moving average, which is below the 50 days moving average, which indicates the bearish pressure above the current levels on S&P 500 futures, which may result in a downward move from the current levels. Now let us see this chart in a daily time frame. Here we can see that after finding a good support at 200 days moving average, S&P 500 futures started to move upward, and here the announcement of strong job data pushed the S&P 500 futures some more upward above the level of 2892, where I find currently they have reached in a overbought territory. No doubt still they can move up to some more upward levels, but I find that S&P 500 futures will have to face stiff resistance at 2921, where this level will provide stiff resistance to S&P 500 futures, from where we can see a sharp downward move and S&P 500 futures due to the current position of 50 days exponential moving average, which is trying to move downward below the 50 days moving average, which indicate bearish pressure on S&P 500 futures at the current levels. And I find a gap down opening on the first trading session of the week will keep the S&P 500 futures under bearish pressure, where they will find their first support at the 200 days moving average, which is currently at 2755. So friends, be ready for an action in S&P 500 futures during the upcoming week. So friends, if you like this video, don't forget to share this video with your more and more friends. Thank you.